Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryechu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So Namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji, Pranam.
Namaste Guruji, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Ananda Pratibhimba Chumbita Tanuho Vrittistamo Jrimbhita स्यादानंदमय प्रियादि गुणकः श्रेष्ठार्थलाभोदयः पुण्यस्यानुभवे विभाति कृतिनामानंद रूप स्वयं भूत्वानंदति यत्र साधु तनुभृन् मात्र प्रयत्नं विना. So we are discussing the topic of Anandamaya Kosha, which starts from this verse and it will be covered in the next two verses, as I said. So after discussing some background information, we entered the sloka in the last class, towards the end of the last class, to understand the meaning and implications. And the most important point that we saw was that, contrary to the popular belief and understanding that the sensory objects are the source of happiness, Vedanta says that the actual source of happiness is our own inner self. It is our Atma which is the source of happiness. But due to our ignorance, we are not aware of this fact. And we also saw that this misconception arises because of ignorance and conclusion that the emotion of happiness arises in the mind under conducive conditions, which is when the mind is resolved. This was the conclusion we saw. That is, happiness is an emotion which occurs in the mind when the mind enjoys certain conducive conditions. And what is that conducive conditions? When the mind is resolved. The mind is not in a state of agitation or anxiety. And we also saw that this conducive condition can occur under three circumstances. One is, of course, the deep sleep state, when not only the mind, but all the sense faculties are all inactive. There are no thoughts in the mind, and hence the mind is resolved. The ego is resolved. Consequently, the mind experiences a state of happiness. It is this state when the mind is one with the Atma. the reflection of consciousness and the reflection of happiness is total at this state. But the happiness arises out of ignorance or mula vidya. This is not a happiness which is called ananda in Vedanta parlance. And the second situation is the ignorant mind should become a wise mind, then also you will experience happiness. In fact, this happiness, when the ignorant mind becomes a wise mind, when an ajnani becomes a jnani, the nature of that happiness arises out of knowledge, and therefore it is permanent happiness. It is not a temporary happiness like in the case of Mula Vidya. And the third circumstance, as we saw, was that when a desire for a sensory object or a relationship or a situation arises in the mind, and the urge for fulfilling the desire creates an agitation in the mind. And when the desire is fulfilled, the agitation dies down, the mind is temporarily resolved. In that circumstance also, there is an experience of happiness. But this is a very brief period of happiness till the next desire arises in the mind, which again becomes agitated. And the problem lies here. When happiness is experienced on fulfillment of a desire, we reach the wrong conclusion that the desired object or person or situation is the source of happiness. And while discussing about the Atma, we said that consciousness is a feature of Atma. When the body, mind, sense complex borrows this consciousness from Atma, or in other words, the body, mind, sense complex becomes sentient when the consciousness gets reflected in them. This is what we discussed while we were discussing about Atma. Now Vedanta says there is a second feature of Atma, and that is happiness or Ananda. The mind experiences happiness when the happiness which belongs to Atma gets reflected in the mind. Or in other words, the mind borrows happiness from Atma and experiences happiness. Therefore, it is Atma alone which is the sole source of happiness in the entire creation. The original happiness which belongs to Atma is called Bimba Ananda. The happiness reflected in the mind under conducive conditions is called Pratibimba Ananda or reflected happiness. Further, we also saw that the experiential happiness has got three gradations: happy, happier, happiest. A positive, comparative, superlative, 3 degrees of happiness. So the mind goes through 3 types of conducive states. If it is just conducive, I am happy. More conducive, happier. Most conducive means the happiest state. And the Shastra gives a name to each one. They are called Priya, Moda and Pramoda respectively. Therefore, the conclusion of Vedanta is that happiness or Ananda is reflected not just in the mind, but it is reflected in the conducive mind. We need to very carefully note this qualification. A conducive mind is equal to a resolved mind, is equal to Karana Shariram, is equal to happiness or Ananda. In other words, the Karana Shariram is the reflecting medium for Bimbananda. This is the ultimate conclusion of Vedanta. And these Priya, Moda and Pramoda are vrittis belonging to the Karana Shariram. And because it is capable of reflecting Ananda, Karana Shariram is called Anandamaya Kosha. And therefore, the Acharya defines Anandamaya Kosha here in this sloka as Vrittis Tamo Jrumbita Syat Anandamaya Priyadi Gunakaha. Whatever we have discussed, he is now explaining. Anandamaya Kosha consists of three types of Vrittihi, conditions or states, known as Priya, Moda and Pramoda. The threefold vritti belongs to Tamaha. Tamo Jrumbita, he says. Tamaha means Mula Vidya, Karana Shariram. Jrimbita means Janita, Janya or born out of. Therefore, whenever we are talking about Anandamaya Kosha, we are talking about Karana Sharira Vritti. It is a concept in Advaita Vedanta. No other philosophy talks about Karana Sharira. Therefore, Tamo Jrumbita Vritti he means Karana Sharira Vritti, means the Vritti that is happening whenever we are happy. And this Karana Sharira Vritti is generated Swa Ishta Artha Labha Udayaha. Udayaha means rises. Labha, when there is attainment or association of a person with Swa Ishta Artha. Here the word Artha means any object or person or situation which is Swa Ishtam, which is liked by this person, which is desired by that person, which is favorable to that person, which is expected by that person. Such a situation is called Swaishta Artham. Labha means gaining. When I get that either because of my present effort or because of my Purva Janma Punyam. So that is Swaishta Labha, Swaishta Artha Labha Udayaha. And this Karana Sharira Vritti is of very fine nature. Its nature is very subtle. And therefore, Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu, it is capable of us getting associated with original happiness, which is the very nature of Atma, which is also a very, very subtle concept. Ananda Pratibimba means reflected happiness. So that means the experience of happiness is generated by a combination of Atma and Anatma. Anatma is the vritti, the thought. And Atma, reflection, is also there in that. Without Atma reflection, the vritti is jadam, it is inert. So Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu, it is called reflected happiness or experiential happiness. And referring to the threefold reflections, depending upon the degree of resolution of the mind, the Acharya says Priyadi Gunakaha. Because when the mind is active, the subject-object duality is there very clearly. The ego brings in the subject-object duality. And in happiness, the duality becomes indistinct. Therefore, as even the mind resolves more and more, Karana Shariram becomes more and more dominant. I enter the Advaita Avastha in which all differences between the subject object are dissolved. And this is beautifully revealed in a mantra in Mandukya Upanishad. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyate tat sushuptam. So sushupta avastha is when the subject object reality is completely dissolved, although for a temporary period. सुषुप्तस्थान एकीभूतः प्रज्ञानघनः एवानन्दमयो ह्यानन्दभुक् चेतोमुखः प्राज्ञस्तृतीयः पादः. That is called Anandamaya Kosha. It is covered by Ananda. Therefore, Priyadi Gunakaha Sweshtartha Labhodayah Anandamaya Bhavati. Anandamaya is the subject in this sentence. All others are subjective complements. We have to supply Bhavati. Then Punyasya Anubhave Vibhati Kritina. The question now is, when does this happen? When does this experience of happiness happen? What are the conditions? Kritinam. Kriti means the fortunate one, the lucky one, the blessed one. For the fortunate people, Vibhati, Anandamaya Kosha surfaces. Karana Shariram becomes dominant. When Punyasya Anubhave, when there is an experience which is generated out of Punyam, favorable karmas done by a person. And the favorable karma can be prarabdha karma, it can be agami karma. It is the result of some effort that I have put forth. So, prarabdha agami punyam tasya anubhave. When we are experiencing the past punyam, it is fructifying in the form of favorable condition and then generates priyadi vritti, which reflects my own atmananda. So this is how we have to understand every experience in our life. We seldom pay any attention to these things. And that is why whenever we talk of happiness, we are running behind all these objects and relationships or even situations. We must understand the process, why it happens. And if you understand the process, it will connect back to so many things. Developing Vairagyam, this understanding is very important. When you understand that the happiness is not generated because of the fulfillment of a desire, that the source of happiness is not in that object, then our own urge to run behind the objects will be greatly reduced. All I need to do is find a method to make my mind resolved. I will enjoy happiness. That means what? I need to ensure that my mind doesn't get agitated very often. Then you again inquire, why does my mind get agitated quite often? The answer will be because you have got desires are coming up. And when the desires remain unfulfilled, there is agitation in the mind. And when that agitation subsides, when the desires are fulfilled, I have an experience of happiness, which is very temporary till the next desire comes. So if we analyze and understand this whole thing, we will know how to manage our desires. And that is the step, that is the trick towards Vairagyam, which is one of the very important qualifications required for a seeker. So this is all not just theoretical stuff which is coming out from the Shastra. They have got 100% practical use. And you should try it out. You should try it out on a day-to-day basis on small things. When a desire for something arises in the mind, tell the mind, it's okay if it is not fulfilled. Don't get agitated because of that. I am perfectly okay. If I get it, welcome. If I don't get it also, I am going to be okay. Tell the mind, then the mind will not get agitated. The longer you are able to keep the mind in an unagitated state, in a resolved state, in a conducive state, you will experience happiness. Therefore, is only Vairagyam is one of the important Viragasya Bhavaha Vairagyam. Important qualification recommended for a spiritual seeker. Then he says, Ananda Rupaha Swayam Bhutva Nandati Yatra Sadhu Tanubhril Matraha Prayatnam Vina. This is another sentence out of the sloka. Ananda Rupaha Swayam. That should be connected with the fourth line. And there the word Yatra is there. So for the sake of convenience and proper interpretation, we can replace that word Yatra with Tatra. Tatra means at that time. Yatra means when. So when we convert it to Tatra, the translation in English becomes easy. Of course, if you are only studying in Sanskrit, Yatra is very well good enough. But then when Yatra comes, the translation becomes a little difficult. The complicated sentence it becomes. So we use Tatra means at that time. At that time, Punyam is fructifying or Priyadi vrittis are generated. At that time, Tanubhrit Matraha. Tanubhrit means living being or Jiva, which has got a body. The embodied Jiva, living being. Matraha here means everyone. So Matraha here is a suffix added to indicate Samanya, which means all the living beings without exception. So when the beautiful rain falls on a mountain top and there is a stream of water coming down, that's a joy for every living being. Tatra, at that time, prayatnam vina, without any effort, there is happiness. It is not a happiness which is generated out of a desire. For this happiness, this joy, experience of this joy No specific effort is required. So this is another condition when happiness is experienced. When you listen to, say, if you are a Carnatic music fan or music in general, music fan, when you listen to that music, there is happiness. It is not necessary that just before listening to the music, a desire should have arisen in your mind that you should listen to music. Not necessary. If the music comes wafting in the air, you feel experience a sense of happiness. So we further analyze this, how happiness is experienced. Of course, even when we are listening to a music or looking at the rainfall, there is an effort in terms of the eyes are seeing, take the inputs are being received into the mind. Effort is there. But when that happens, that effort is required only to dissolve the mind and produce this Priyamoda Pramoda Vritti. So up to the generation of the Vritti alone, effort is required, Punyam is required. Ananda does not require Punyam because it is already our nature. It is waiting to get reflected in a conducive mind. Therefore, he says, Prayatnam Vina, effortlessly. Just as when I bring a mirror in front of me, I need not request my face, oh face, may you get reflected in the mirror. I need not make any effort. When it is put in front of me, reflection is automatic. So for Ananda to manifest, no effort is required. Effort is required only to resolve the mind. Therefore, prayatna vina tanubrin matra Ananda rupa bhutva nandati yatra sadhu. Sadhu means intensely, deeply. Swayam Ananda rupa bhutva. Jiva becomes one with the Anandamaya kosha. All other koshas are forgotten. Therefore, experiencing Anandamaya kosha is happiness, is becoming one with it, with the Anandamaya kosha. And we must always remember that in Anandamaya kosha, in the Karana Shariram, when Karana Shariram is dominant, the subject-object duality is resolved, and therefore Ananda Rupa Bhutva means becoming one with reflected happiness. In fact, the Jiva is soaked in happiness. Swayam Bhutva Nandati. Nandati here means rejoices, enjoys that Ananda. And this is called Anandamaya Kosha. Whenever I am happy, I am in Anandamaya Kosha. Whether I am a Jnani or a Ajnani, both of them are happy. Both of them are in Anandamaya Kosha. But the difference between Ajnani and Jnani is Ajnani attributes the happiness to sense objects, whereas a Jnani never attributes happiness to sense objects. He will say, my happiness is because of my original nature getting reflected in the Anandamaya Kosha. The costume called Anandamaya. And therefore, when the happiness causing object goes away, it could be a nice food, nice music, nice scenery, a very close relative, a very favorable situation just gone away. In all these circumstances, when the happiness, that object which was mistakenly taken as the source for happiness goes away, an Ajnani feels bad that he has lost happiness. But a Jnani understands that what has happened is only the mirror is taken away. I, the original happiness, am always there. Nobody can take it away. So if not one mirror, I can always bring another mirror. Therefore, when a jiva is happy, jnani or ajnani, that jiva is in the Anandamaya kosha. And this is the message of the sloka, which explains what Anandamaya kosha is all about. So we'll continue. Anandamaya koshasya sushuptau spurtirutkata swapna jagarayo prishad ishta sandarshanadhina. I think that I got the tune wrong. Doesn't matter. I read the sloka. Sushuptau, the Anvaya is Sushuptau, Anandamaya koshasya spurtihi utkata, Ishta sandarshanadina, Swapna jagarayoho ishad. Sushuptau, in deep sleep, Anandamaya koshasya, of the Anandamaya kosha, Spurtihi, the manifestation, Utkata, is abandoned. Ishta sandarshanadina, by seeing, etc., of the desired object. Swapna jagara yoho, in dream and in waking state, Ishad, a partial manifestation occurs. So the manifestation of Anandamaya Kosha is very clear in deep sleep, whereas it is partial in the dream and waking state, brought about by the seeing, etc., of the desired objects. So now, after knowing what is Anandamaya Kosha, the question that is being answered is, how often does a jiva experience this Anandamaya Kosha and the consequent happiness? And that is said here. Anandamaya koshasya spurtihi. Spurtihi means manifestation, appearance, availability. So the evidence of Anandamaya kosha is utkata, more dominant when sushuptau, in deep sleep state. Because in deep sleep alone, the mind is resolved for a length of time. Therefore, there is no duality, there is no individuality, no raga dvesha, no kama krodha. It is in Advaitam. So in Sushupti, Ananda is continuously there for a long time. So Sushuptau, in deep sleep, Spurtihi, the experience of Ananda is Utkata, abundant or dominant. In fact, all the Upanishads describe Sushupti as a happy state. We might wonder what is happiness, whether it is happiness or is it a state where I am in a neutral state. Upanishads uniformly declare that it is tatra etat sukham bhavati. Upanishad after Upanishad, Prashnopanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, all Upanishads you take, they all say in Sushupti, the jiva is in Advaita Avastha. Mind is resolved. Therefore, there is joy reflected in the Karana Shariram. Atmananda is reflected in the Karana Shariram. It is not Ananda coming from the world. because the world itself has disappeared in Sushupti. Therefore, in Sushupti, there is Ananda. And that Ananda is my own reflection in my own Karma Shariram. That is the conclusion. In fact, Brihadananyaka Upanishad goes far further, compares it to moksha. In Swayam Jyoti Brahmana, which is one of the parts of Brihadananyaka Upanishad, there are several mantras. Tatra pita apita bhavate, mata amata, loka aloka, deva adeva, veda aveda bhavati. Like that, everything. At the time of sleep, a father is not a father. Therefore, fatherly worries are not there. Mother is not a mother. So, motherly worries are not there. There is no duality, no individuality, no worry. It is a state of continuous happiness. That is why after waking up, everybody says, I slept happily. Sukham aham aswaptam. Aswapstam. Not only we have got Shastra Pramana, it is also provided by inference. It's also proved by inference. Everybody loves to go to Sushupti, isn't it? Sleep is something which everybody loves to do. That's why many people find it difficult to wake up in the morning. They are in a state of happiness. Don't want to come out of it. Pujya Swamiji says that if it is a state of unhappiness, people will complain. Just as people complain about going to office on Monday mornings. They will say, oh my God, Monday has already come. They suffer from what they call Monday blues. After a nice weekend, Monday morning going to office is such a big pain. I have to go to office, I have to face the boss. So many pending things are there, I have to clear them. So we will always complain about any repetitive job. But sleep also, deep sleep is also repetitive. But nobody complains about that. Nobody feels, oh my God, today I have to sleep. Yesterday also I slept. What to do? Like that, nobody complains. In fact, we look forward to this experience. We want to finish our dinner fast and then go to sleep, hit the bed. In Panchadashi, Vidyaranya Swami says, people take so much trouble to make sure that they get good sleep. You want a comfortable bed. Some people want 2 pillows. If it is warm, you want a air condition. All things you make, arrangements you make to ensure that you get a good sleep. All this indicates that Sushupti is a continuous Ananda Anubhava. That means we are in Anandamaya Kosha continuously. And therefore, Anandamaya Koshasya Sushuptau Spurtihi Utkata, he says. Whereas, Swapna Jagarayoho Ishad, Swapna Jagarayoho, during waking and dream. In that also, we do go to Advaita Avastha. That is Karana Sharira, Anandamaya Kosha. How? Ishad, briefly, not for a length of time. Daughter's marriage might have been fixed. Happy news. Son may have passed the examination with flying colors. Happy news. The promotion that we have been waiting for so long has already come through. happy news. Therefore, parents are happy, people are happy, they jump with joy. But then suddenly a thought comes, my daughter's marriage is fixed, all right, but if I have to conduct the marriage within a short time, will I get the marriage hall? These days, marriage halls are booked 1 or 2 years in advance. I have to make all the arrangements. Agitation, again, mind agitation starts. Okay, my son has passed with flying colors. He wants to go to some US university. Will he get an admission? All this worry immediately comes. Therefore, happiness comes, but then it is immediately followed by agitations in the mind. Pujya Swamiji used to give a very interesting example. He says, a person is drinking a soft drink, which he loves. A bottle, Coca-Cola bottle, whatever it is. He is using a straw and is sucking the drink. And this is true, especially with children. So as long as you are sucking the drink, it is a very happy, joyful. But the eyes are constantly seeing the level of the drink in the bottle. And which generates a sorrow. So the level is coming down very fast. So sorrow in the midst of joy. Thus, we are not able to comfortably and continuously enjoy happiness in the waking state because we go to Advaita Avastha only for a brief period. And suddenly Dvaitam surfaces and worry comes. Therefore, Ishad, limited, briefly, slightly, Swapna Jagarayoho in the waking and dream states. So we have to now use Swapna Jagarayoho connected with the previous line. Swapna Jagarayoho Anandamaya Koshasya Smurtihi Bhavati Ishad. Ishad Bhavati. We do experience. That means even in the waking state, we dip into Karma Shariram whenever we experience happiness. And then he says, when does this happen? Ishta Sandarshana Adina. Because of seeing the Ishta Vastu. The last class I said, Ishta Darshanam, Ishta Grahanam, and Ishta Anubhavaha, seeing, possessing, enjoying a desired object. Seeing corresponds to Priyavritti, I am happy. Possessing corresponds to Moda Vritti, I am happier. Enjoying corresponds to Pramoda Vritti, I am the happiest. So, Ishta Sandarshana Adina. Sandarshana means seeing, Adi means etc. Referring to Grahanam and Anubhava. So, this shloka explains or elaborates how this different vrittis they are generated. Continue with the next shloka. Naivayamanandamaya paratma sopadikatvat prakritir vikarat कार्यत्व हेतो सुकृत क्रियाया है विकार संघात समाहितत्वात्. So here in this shloka, which is the last shloka dealing with Anandamaya Kosha, the Acharya is giving the arguments to establish or to prove that Anandamaya Kosha is only a costume, it is not Atma. That is what is the essence of this sloka. So the Anmaya of this sloka is Sopadikatvat Prakritehe Vikarat Sukrita Kriyayah Karyatva Hetoho Vikara Sangatha Samahitatvat Ayam Anandamaya Paratma Na Eva. Sopadikatvat, because of having a upadi, which is the mind. Prakritehe, of Prakriti. Vikarat, due to modification or being a modification of the Prakriti. Sukrita Kriyaya, of good deeds. Punya karmas. Karyatva hetoho, because of being a product. Vikara Sanghata Samahitatvat, on account of being born of the assemblage of the modifications. Sanghata means assemblage. I am this Anandamaya, Anandamaya Kosha, Paratma, the self, the original I, Na eva, can never be. You can add Bhavati to that to complete the sentence. So, I am Anandamaya Paratma Na eva Bhavati. This is the crux or this is the main theme of this sloka. So, the Acharya wants to again establish that this Anandamaya Kosha also comes under the definition of Anatma only. We must remember the original topic is what? Atma, Anatma, Viveka. So, even experiential happiness is also Anatma. It belongs to Anatma only. It is not Para Atma. Here, Paraha means the real Atma. We should not confuse with Paramatma, Bhagavan, Vishnu Loka, Brahma Loka, and all that. That's why he does not use Paramatma. He has used the word Paratma. Paratma means the real I, the supreme self. Na bhavati, it is not. And what is the reason? Acharya gives several reasons. We will see them one by one. The first reason he says, Sopadikatvat na eva ayam paratma. Sopadikatvat. Sopadika can split sa upadika. Upadi here means a condition. So sopadika means conditional. Because Anandamaya Kosha, happiness, is a conditional happiness. And therefore, it is temporary happiness also. It is subject to arrival and departure. Why? Because it is only a reflection. So, Sopadika here means conditional. The condition being the favorable situation and punyam. Lord Krishna says in the 5th chapter, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate adyantavantak kaunteya nateshu ramate bhutaha. He is giving a warning to Arjuna. Arjuna, may you never get attached to experiential happiness. Even if you are enjoying it, may you not get lost in that. May you remember that experiential happiness is subject to loss. And when it goes away, there will be a vacuum. Dukkha yonaya evate, they are the cause of sorrow. Therefore, Anandamaya Kosha is also subject to fluctuation. It one can give only fluctuating happiness. Whereas Atmananda is Niratishaya Ananda. It does not have any gradations like Priyamoda, Pramoda, etc. And therefore, he says experiential Ananda is temporary, sopadikatvat, conditional. When the condition disappears, happiness disappears. And the second reason he gives is Prakritehe Vikarat. Anandamaya Kosha is in the form of three vrittis, Priya, Moda, Pramoda, which vritti are product of Karana Shariram. Karana Shariram itself is called Prakriti. We have seen while discussing Karana Shariram all these things. Karana Shariram we have seen has got different names, Maya, Avidya, Shakti, and Prakriti is another name for Karana Shariram and Karana Prapancha. So Priya Moda Pramoda is a product of the inert Karana Shariram. Prakritehe Vikarat, product of Prakriti. Vikara here means product or modification. Both meanings we can take. Whereas Atma is neither a product nor it is inert. Therefore, Anandamaya Kosha hai Paratmana Bhavati. Then the third reason he gives, Sukrita Kriyaya Karyatva Hetoho. Because Anandamaya Kosha arrives as a consequence of Punyam, previous Punya Karma, which is described here as Sukrita Kriyaya. Because of that Karyam, it originates as a product. In fact, this is an explanation of the previous statement, Prakritehe Vikara. It's a product of Karma Shariram. And it comes as a product because of Purva Janma Punyam. So, experiential Ananda is Punya Phala. Original Ananda is not a product of anything because it is my real, very nature. It's all the time with me. Therefore, Nityananda is available always for claiming. Nityananda is never available for experiencing. Directly, you cannot experience, just like you cannot experience pure consciousness, you cannot experience pure Ananda. Whereas, experiential Ananda is always anityam, temporary. So, Nityananda is eternal. Pratibimbananda is anityam. So, Sukrita Kriyayaha Karyatva Hetoho, because it is the result of Punyam. Then the fourth reason is Vikara Sanghata Samahitatva. Samahitatva means it is constituted of, comprised of Vikara Sanghata, a group of three vrittis. We have to understand Vikara Sanghata earlier. He has talked about, referred to Vikara as the three vrittis, Priya Moda, Pramoda. So here the word Vikara means the modification of Karana Shariram, which means Priya Moda, Pramoda vrittis. Sanghata means a group. So Vikara Sanghata means vritti samuha, a group of vrittis referring to the three vrittis. Thus, Anandamaya Kosha is a composite entity which is Savayavam, whereas Atma is Niravayavam, like space. Atma does not have any component parts, whereas Anandamaya Kosha has got component parts in the form of Priya, Moda, Pramoda, Vrittis. Therefore, the final meaning of Vikara Sanghata Samahitatvat is it is a composite entity Composite means a thing which is a group consisting of several parts. And because of all these four reasons in fact, Anandamaya Kosha is just a costume I wear. Vedanta doesn't say you should reject experiential happiness. Because everyone instinctively loves experiential happiness. But what Vedanta wants us to understand is that the experiential happiness is temporary. Therefore, may you be mentally prepared for its arrival and enjoy it all right. But remember, it will also go away. And therefore, as Krishna says in the Gita, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya, see, Toshna Sukha Dukkadaha, Agama Payino Nityaha, Tam Sthiti Chasva Bharata. So, Vedanta is not against experiential happiness. Vedanta only says, may you be aware of its character. May you not get very attached to that experiential happiness. May you not get lost in that experiential happiness. Enjoy experiential happiness when it is available. And when it goes away, understand that it has to go away. Anything which is impermanent will go away. Our own body you take is not permanent. We enjoy a youthful body, but at some stage the youth goes away. If we are not aware of that, if we cannot accept that fact, then life will become a nightmare. Every condition of the body can become a nightmare. Therefore, we are not against experiential happiness. We only want, be prepared for its loss also. Then another happiness will come and that will also go away. This is the very nature of the world and experiential things. May you be aware of that. It is only a warning, a statutory warning, like, they put it on the cigarette packet. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. So you can say, as Swami Paramatmananda says, getting attached to experiential happiness is injurious to spiritual health. Thus, Anandamaya Kosha has to be negated. Na iti, this is not Atma. Physically, you don't throw it away. You remember it is only another costume. It is Anatma. Anatmatva Nishchaya hai, Koshatva Nishchaya hai, Namarupatva Nishchaya hai, Mithyatva Nishchaya hai, Pravilapanam. All this we have already seen. Those who have studied Taittiriya Upanishad can recollect Panchakosha Viveka mentioned there. So we have dealt with 5 koshas. Now if you say, Guruji, what is the 6th kosha? You will be disappointed because there are only 5 koshas. We have covered all the 5 koshas and 3 sharirams also. Once we have negated all the 5 koshas and 3 sharirams, we have divested ourselves of all the costumes, and then I am there as pure Atma. And therefore, Shankaracharya wants to conclude this Panchakosha Viveka discussion in the following sloka by pointing out that what is left out is the real Atma. So this sloka is the conclusion of Panchakosha Viveka, which he started in the verse 45. Here he formally concludes in this verse number 16. In the original text, it is verse number 210. You can imagine how elaborately he has dealt with each kosha in the original text. We will just read the sloka and then discuss it in the next class. Panchanamapi koshanam nishede yukti tasrutehe tannishedhavadhi sakshi bodha rupo avasishyate. Stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. I just wanted to make a small announcement. Next Sunday, we will not be having the classes because I will be traveling back to Coimbatore. I will be in the train. So we will have the next class after next Sunday, the Sunday after the next. And wish you all a very happy 2024. Happy New Year. And may you all, may the next year also be a year of fulfillment for all of you. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Happy New Year
Thank
to
you,
you.
Guruji. Hari Om.
How about Saturday's class?
Saturday class will be there.
Bhagavad Gita?
Bhagavad Gita will be there.
Next
Only
Saturday?
Vivekachudamani will not be there because I am traveling that Sunday. I'll be in the train.
What happened?
Thank you so much.
Okay, Hari Om. Thank you.
No, next Saturday, will the class be on? You said about Sunday.
Saturday Bhagavad Gita class will be there.
Okay, okay.
Sunday Vivekachudamani will not be there.
Understood. Right, Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Happy New Year, Guruji.
Happy New Year, all of you.
Happy New Year to you as well as all the Sahoparties. Wonderful year ahead.
Wonderful year ahead. Yes.
To all the
Thank you, Guru.
participants. Correct.
Hari Om. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, questions first.
Yeah, Guruji, we are talking here about experiential happiness. Why do we say stress that experience? Because happiness is an experience, right?
Yeah. See, there are two types of happiness. Experiential happiness and your nature as happiness.
Oh,
Experiential happiness is a reflected happiness.
okay.
Your nature is the original happiness.
Yeah.
Because of your nature, you are Satchit Ananda.
Agree. Correct.
Ananda is the original happiness. And under certain conditions, when that original Ananda gets reflected in the mind,
Oh,
then we have an experience of happiness. So in order to differentiate between these two, we call one as experiential happiness, another as original happiness, or in Vedanta parlance, we can say Pratibimbananda and Bimbananda. In English, when we translate Pratibimbananda, we call it reflected happiness. But that will not convey anything to most people. So we say the happiness or the joy that you experience, which is what we call experiential happiness, understand the nature of that.
okay.
What is our problem in life? We want to be happy always, correct?
Agree.
Nobody says, oh, I want to be very unhappy tomorrow. I want the whole tomorrow to be a very sorrowful day. Nobody says that, correct? We want to be always happy.
Yeah.
And we feel that putting through some effort on our part, we can be happy.
Okay.
That's what we all do. And why do we want to put in an effort? Because we have a desire. And we feel that if that desire is fulfilled by my putting some effort, I will be happy. You do that. You have a desire. You put in an effort to fulfill that desire. Desire gets fulfilled. Happiness comes. Correct?
And in some cases, actually, it is backed up by the likes and dislikes as well.
Yeah,
Without-
desire is because of raga dvesha. So you can one step
Okay.
you go. What is
Okay.
desire? It is only raga
Okay.
or kama, right? So desire, the source of desire is only raga, right? That's what is
Okay.
desire is all about.
Okay.
So that happiness comes to you. You are very happy. You enjoy it. So what you feel that if I continue to have desires, if I continue to put in effort, I will be permanently happy.
Okay.
But the problem with desires is not all desires can be fulfilled. It is not under your control.
Correct.
There are many external factors which are responsible for the desires to be fulfilled.
Yes.
Now, when desires are not fulfilled, you are unhappy.
Correct.
But your goal was to be happy. So Vedanta says, you see now the problem with this experiential happiness, it is not permanent. It will come and go, come and go. If you want to be permanently happy, understand the nature of this experiential happiness. When it comes, accept it. When it goes, don't cry. Understand that the original source of happiness is you. You can
Correct.
make yourself happy or unhappy by understanding. No effort is required.
Correct.
So all these things is what is this we have to understand, and then it points out the source, Anandamaya Kosha, and then Karana Shariram, from where this whole thing happens. What is the structure behind this happiness? That is what is explained in these slokas.
And
So,
also, can we?
experiential happiness, it
Yeah.
is to different. Because what happens is, and that is why in sannyasa, when you give up all desires for material things,
Okay.
there is no question of temporary happiness at all.
Correct.
You will always be permanently happy because there is no desire. Then there is no question of not fulfilling the desire. There is no question of unhappiness. So that is why sannyasa, they say, is the best state for you to be always in a happy. It is not experiencing happy. It is being in a state of happiness. Always mind is resolved. There is no agitation in the mind. And that is why all the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is prescribed for seekers. Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutvam, etc. Then, Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti. All these sadhanas which are prescribed, they are all meant for reaching that ultimate goal of desirelessness. You give yourself up to Ishvara. Whatever my prarabdha brings me, I will accept it, I will enjoy it. If I am undergoing lot of health problems, it is not because of I have done something wrong. It is my prarabdha which is delivering all these. I accept it and I have no complaint against it. Just go through your life like that. Then your life will not have this yo-yo, sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy. All that thing will not be there. So ultimately, that is the goal. Ultimately, mental sannyasa is the goal. These are all steps for understanding how to reach that goal.
Correct. Unless we step into the Vedanta, we will never come to know that we are Sachidananda Swarupa.
Yeah, exactly. But
And there
again,
is
saying Sachidananda Swarupa is not merely some slogan.
correct. Very true.
The content of it, we have to understand what is it driving us towards, That is why Vedanta is unique in its approach.
Thank you.
And it requires a lot of application of mind. I mean, it is not a novel you read, bedside reading. It's not.
Very true. Very true.
I have to work for it.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yes, Lataji.
Pranam Guruji.
Um,
I missed the last class.
Uh-huh.
I listened to it about 4 or 5 times. Every time I listened, I thought something got clear, but then there were more doubts.
Yeah.
And to understand the previous class, I started referring to my own previous notes, and then so I think I need to do a little more of reading and rereading and re-listening, Guruji. But there's just some of the little questions I have, not very deep questions, but then from my previous lecture, from your previous sessions, I have small doubts like, is Chidabhasa and consciousness are the synonyms?
No. Consciousness, when we say, it is the original consciousness.
Yes.
Chidabhasa is reflected consciousness.
Okay.
They are not one and the same thing.
Thank you, Guruji, for that.
Chit is original consciousness. Chit abhasa is
What is
reflected
experience?
consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji. Secondly, we were talking about experiencing the happiness and in 3 states. One is a deep sleep. The second one, which is the permanent, which is the knowledge, gaining the right knowledge. And the thirdly, you were saying when your desires are fulfilled, that's when the temporarily it is experienced. Just my another question was, what about in meditation, Guruji?
Meditation, if you are able to make your mind resolved. See, the trick is what? Mind should not be in an agitated state. If there are no agitations in your mind, when the mirror of the mind is clear, then automatically the Bimbananda gets reflected in that mind. So it will experience happiness. So while in a meditative state, if you are able to reach that resolution of the mind, that is, you have got only one thought in the mind, which is getting repeated, and no other thoughts are interfering. You are not thinking, sitting for meditation, closing eyes, starts thinking about all office problems, domestic problem, son said that, daughter-in-law said this, and all those kind of things, then that state also is happiness state. So ultimately, when we are talking about temporary happiness, priya, moda, pramoda, vrittis, etc., it is conditional upon the mind getting resolved under certain circumstances. That circumstances could be during waking state also, when, as I said, when the desire is fulfilled. Or it could be in any other meditative state, or all those are all part of the waking state things. So the idea is, when the mind is resolved, you experience happiness.
Whatever may be the reason.
Whatever may be the reason for that. But then reasons also we can analyze. It can be only few reasons, right? Mind will not be resolved when it is in an agitated mind. So there should be no agitation in the mind. Then you will be happy. That is what we have to understand from this whole discussion.
Thank you, Guruji. Next short question is, the comparison was between consciousness and happiness. They're both being natures of the Atma. They share the same kind of qualities. Like it's not part of property and the product of anything, and then it's all pervading. So when it's all pervading, why do we say that Anatma has not even an iota of happiness? That was what from the last lecture. If it is all pervading, the Anatma also should be pervaded by happiness. Yes.
Only Anatma will have pervation. Anatma will have happiness only when the original happiness gets reflected in the Anatma.
Okay.
We are not
So-
saying Anatma itself does not have any happiness. Like
Okay, then-
yesterday, day before yesterday was what? Paurnamasya. What will you say looking at the moon? Oh, the moon is very bright, shining very bright with light, right?
Yes.
As a Agyani, you can say that. But if you are a cosmology Jnani, what will you say? Does the moon have its own light? It does not have. Right?
Yeah.
So moon here, all that it is borrowing the light from the sun, and on that particular condition, the cosmic condition, it's a full moon day, it reflects full light. That's all. Otherwise, the moon does not have any light at all of its own. So,
Yes.
similarly, Anatma also does not have any happiness of its own. Mind is Anatma. Correct.
Yes.
But mind experiences happiness. It is just like the moon sunlight business. When the original happiness is getting reflected on the clear mind, unagitated mind, resolved mind, it experiences happiness. So the happiness does not belong to the Anatma, it belongs to the Atma. Anatma is only a mirror which reflects that happiness. That is why we say all Anatma does not have happiness. It is not the source of happiness.
Okay.
Source
So
of
that means
Atma.
the happiness is all pervading, but then to experience it, there has to be a reflective.
Exactly. It's like consciousness. Consciousness is all pervading, but the experiences you need to have a body, mind, sense complex. Otherwise, you will not be able to, dead body and sentient body, you won't be able to differentiate. We all will be dead bodies only, right? So, even though consciousness is all pervading, a stone is not conscious, a rock is not conscious, a sand is not sentient, right? Why? Because they don't have the capacity to reflect that consciousness and become sentient. It's only certain things, only jivas. The karana shariram, which is there, only that has got the capacity to reflect the original consciousness also. And once karana shariram, the consciousness is reflected, whether it is consciousness or happiness, both function in the same manner, right? Once the consciousness or happiness gets reflected in the Karana Shariram, then the Karana Shariram passes on that reflection to Sukshma Shariram and then to Stula Shariram. That is the chain in which it works. So Stula Shariram also does not have the capacity to directly borrow the consciousness from the all-pervading consciousness. The capacity to borrow is only with Karana Shariram.
Okay.
But these are all for our understanding. All this analysis is for understanding how this entire process works. For us, the message is that don't give too much importance to Anatma. Understand that Anatma is required only for us to understand the original consciousness, to recognize the original consciousness or original happiness. Understand what is the role of Anatma as such. It has got limitations. Understand those limitations and then focus on what is real. Focus on what is most important for your spiritual liberation. That is the whole message of Vedanta. So it is explaining everything, every aspect is touched up.
Okay, Guruji. So I have a 1-year-old grandson. He's all the time happy except when he's hungry or when he's sleepy. So that means the Karna Sharira is always reflecting the Anandamaya Kosha.
Because he does not have any agitation. The ego has not developed. Again, you can go into another analysis. Why does the mind get agitated? Mind get agitated because of the ego.
Ego is
Stronger the ego, the more agitation in the mind.
and no desires either.
Huh?
And no desires also.
And no desire. Desire is one aspect of it. Because there are some people who have got such a strong ego that if somebody doesn't wish them, they will feel agitated. Oh my God, this fellow doesn't wish me. Huh? I am such a great person. I am leader of the society. I expect everybody to come and say hello to me. And this fellow is not doing it. He gets agitated and sorrow follows that. In fact, then with all other things, anger, everything will follow. All driven by one aspect, ego. Ahankara hai. Child doesn't have ahankara. A child till 5 years old is in its natural instinctive state only. That is why till 5 years in our culture, we treat the child as Bhagavan. We don't punish the child. We don't say anything. In fact, even if the parents, scold the child, the grandparents will say, no, don't do anything. Don't say all these things to the child. So we treat them as they're innocent. Children are innocent. They don't have ego and things like that. They may have desires, but that desire is an instinctive desire. It's a desire which even animals have got.
Yep.
Animals have also got instinct to play around. Animals have got the instinctive desire to eat. Animals have got instinctive desire to seek comfort. Right? When an animal, say goat or even a cow is standing in hot sun and it sees the shade of a tree, a distance away, instinctively it will move towards the shade because the heat is uncomfortable. It will seek that shade. It is not a very, what I would call it a decision taken on with using the free will. Only human beings will do that. Not only shade, the human being will put one cot also there and lie down. And where breeze is coming, he will adjust everything. Cow will just go and stand in the shade. So all these seeking by the animals are instinctive, and so is what the child seeks also instinctive. So when it is instinctive, we need not even go into analysis whether it is Karna Shariram is active or not. Because there is no ego, the mind is not agitated.
There's no ego.
So it is a natural thing. Rather. Only when the ego starts developing, the I sense starts developing, that all these problems come into the picture.
Thank you, Guruji. Just one last question, which is a quick question again. We said that the Gyanis, because they have no desires, and so they're always in a state of happiness. So, am I wrong in asking this question? Will they never have experience of unhappiness? Once a Gyani or a sannyasi or a Gyani, will they never experience unhappiness after the...
I'll put it the other way. If someone experiences unhappiness, he is not a Jnani. The very definition of Jnani is a Ananda Swarupa. So he has got, that is why we call them, Dayananda Saraswati, Paramarthananda Saraswati. The Ananda is there in their very name. And Saraswati suffix indicate they have attained jnanam, they have attained the knowledge which is the highest knowledge. So, if somebody is unhappy, then he is still yet to reach the jnani stage. Okay. It is not that the jnanis do not have any desires. We must understand this very, very carefully, right? Jnanis may have desires for lokakshemam. A Jnani may have a desire to establish a matham, ashramam for disseminating the Vedantic teaching. But the difference is, if that doesn't happen, Jnani
He's
is
not unhappy.
disappointed. His approach is, I have this desire. Let that desire be fulfilled if it fits into my prarabdha karma. Right? I will do everything for the desire to be fulfilled because it is not for my personal benefit, it is for
Loka.
Loka Sangraha. Right? But if it is not going to be fulfilled, I will accept it as Ishvara Prasada. I have learned that when I did Karma Yoga, I learned all that. I will accept it as Ishvara Prasada. I will accept it as my Prarabdha Karma. It is not there. So why should I feel bad about it? As a Jnani, now I have become, Jiva Mukta. Jiva Mukta means I have actually burnt all my Sanchita Karma and Agami Karma. All I am left with is now only my Prarabdha Karma, which will run till I become Videha Mukta. So I cannot escape that. When I cannot escape, what I should do? I should accept it, live with it, whatever it is. So once you accept and live with it, there is no question of worrying over it or being unhappy over it. Acceptance is the key word there for a Jnani. Everything is acceptable. If it happens, he is not going to jump in joy. A Jnani, if he is successful in setting up a very good ashram, he is not going to throw a party, call all the ministers and all, oh, see my ashram. He is not going to do that. At the same time, if it doesn't happen, he is not going to tell his Shishya, oh my God, you see, I tried my best, but it did not happen. God is very ungrateful. I have taught God's message to so many people, but he is not blessing me with this. He will not complain. Ajnani will say all these dialogues. Jnani will not say. He will say, okay, nothing happened. Doesn't happen. Happens, well and good. That's all. That is the difference.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Thank you for answering all my questions.
Thank you.
Sorry to have taken so much time. Hari Om, Guruji, and
that's
Happy New Year
okay.
to you.
The time is there. That's why, I emphasized in Bhagavad Gita class also, the sloka that we saw. A student should approach this teacher with maximum number of questions. And the
I
teacher
have
should
so
have
many
no
questions.
reservation, no time limit for answering the questions. You can't say, no, today time is over, tomorrow we will see. No. The only thing, state where a teacher will not answer a question is when he himself does not know the answer. Because a teacher need not know everything that the student asks. But at that time also, he will tell the student, I will check up and I will come back to you. Maybe in the next class, I will answer your question. That's a maximum a teacher will do. Otherwise, gurus are supposed to answer all questions. That is how the Vedanta can be spread. You cannot say, I am a teacher, so you have to just listen, believe whatever I am saying. Then he is not a teacher, then he is a preacher. It is a preacher who does that. Whatever I tell, accept it, period. No questions. That is preaching. Our tradition is not preaching. Our tradition is teaching. That's why. So don't worry about time, number of questions asked and all that. So any questions, any amount of time, not a problem for me. Okay.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank
Hari
you.
Om, Happy New Year to you, Guruji, and everyone too.
Thank you. Any more questions? Doesn't seem to be. So we'll close the session. Happy New Year once again to all of you. We will see on, we'll meet on 14th, the day of Pongal. Pongal, I'm not going to give leave, but the class is in the evening. Pongal is celebrated in the morning. So have a nice Pongal and then come to the class on 14th. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari
Happy
Om.
New Year.
Thank you. Thank you.